Hi everyone, welcome to Becky's Crafts and Goodies. Today I'm going to show you how to decorate this letter rack. Now this actually came from the Works and it was £5. The Works sell loads of different blank items that you can paint and sort of redecorate to suit your decor. So what we're going to do to start with is take off the stickers, there's one on the bottom as well, and then I'm going to give it just a very light sanding because there's a few sort of rough little bits all over it. So I'll just give it a very light sanding. And then I'm going to paint it with a base colour. So with the base colour, I want it to be darker than the colour that's going to be on the top. So you would use something like maybe a brown or a black. Now this paint here is just from the Works as well. It's acrylic paint. They do all sorts of different colours in this. They've got a white one, they've got a black one, they've got sort of green, blues and all sorts of different colours as well. So we'll pop a layer of that on the bottom because what we're going to do is put a lighter colour on the top and then we'll distress the colour from underneath. So when it first goes on, you probably think, oh crikey, that's really dark. But don't worry, because you won't actually see this colour once you've finished that much. It will just be kind of bits coming through underneath. So obviously we're going to put a lighter colour over the top and that will be the main part of the colour that you can see. So you'll just need to go over it with one coat. And one coat will be absolutely enough. And then once that's done, we'll start on the next step. So what we're going to do now, all this is dried, it's just had one coat. I've painted underneath the bottom as well. I've got a candle, and what I'm going to do is to rub bits of the wax around the edges, and this will help with the distressing. You don't have to do this, you can sort of get by without it, but what we want to do is when we've put the next layer on, we'll put the lighter colour of paint over the top, and then we'll get some sandpaper or we can wet distress and we can just take back the top layer, and then it leaves the darker colour underneath. So I'm just going to go over the corner bits. I don't know what bits I'll distress at the moment, so I'm just going to go over all the corners just lightly, and then we'll put on the couple of layers of the paint. And I'm going to use, the paint I'm going to use today is this Vintage with Grace chalk paint. It's the Grandma's Pearls. So it's a nice creamy colour and it will go really nicely with this. I was also going to mention as well, you can go over it with a light sanding if there are any sort of rough bits between this brown layer and the next layer of paint. So that sometimes just helps. So again, I'm one-handed because my new tripod attachment hasn't arrived yet, but we're just going to go over this, and you won't be able to see the brown once we're finished. There's some lumpy bits in this. I'm trying to do this without even really being able to see what I can do, but with the phone in one hand and paintbrush in the other, but we'll get there, won't we? So we're just going to go over it all. We'll let this first layer dry. If it needs sanding down, we can give it a little light sanding. Then we'll do another layer on top. If any areas need touching up, we can do those as well. And then we'll be ready for the next stage. Okie doke, so this is all dry. Now, having a second thought, what I should have done is to put the mould on first, because I've made some moulds out of this Das clay. This is the mould that I used. It's Warrington framework, and I used this middle section here and then these two at the bottom. So I wasn't going to put these on, but after I painted it, I thought they'd look really nice to put those on the middle. So before I painted the top colour over the top, what I should have done was to put the actual mould on, paint it brown, and then once that had dried, put a layer of the white over the top. So what I've done is I want it to be brown underneath, because if I distress it, I want to bring some of the brown out. So what I've done is I've just painted this brown. You can do it this way around if you decide afterwards to pop something on. And I'm going to stick that on the front. I'm going to level it up, and I'm going to use some PVA glue, and you want to use the stuff that's kind of a trade grade. So don't use the stuff that the kids can buy in the, you know, B&M section or Poundland. Get yourself some wood PVA type glue that's quite strong. Stick these on when they're still a bit wet. See, I've painted this, but it's not dry at all. Can you see how it's bendy? So if you stick it on when it's still wet, it won't dry and curl. So I'm going to put that on there, and I've also done a couple of these. I've painted those, and I'm going to stick those on the back as well. So I'll just do that with the PVA. We'll let that dry, and then what I'll do is I'll go over the front of these with the same Grandma's Pearls, and then we'll be at the same stage. So we'll have brown underneath and we'll have cream on top. So if you do decide afterwards to pop something on, you can do it this way around, or if not, you can just stick them on before you kind of do your top coat, you know, when you do your base coat. So we'll stick these on now. Right, so the 2 layers of paint have dried. Now I really like it like this, and I'd quite happily keep it like this, but because I've already put the brown paint underneath, I am going to stick to my original plan, and I'm going to just distress it and rub that through. Now, if you've used chalk paint on the top, you could do what's called a wet distress, and that is getting a wipe or something like that and just kind of rubbing it, and you're rubbing off the top layer of the chalk paint, and it will rub off as long as you haven't sealed the top with any kind of finish or varnish. And that's if you've used chalk paint, which I have on the top. You can also do the good old-fashioned way. You get yourself some little piece of sandpaper and you just kind of rub it lightly. And as you rub it, I'm going to bring that up here. Hopefully you can see, because I haven't done too much. But you'll be able to see the brown paint underneath. And that was the effect that I was going for. So it's a bit of a shabby chic kind of look. And because I also put brown underneath these, if you very lightly, let me put that down there a second, rub it like that, we'll be able to get the same effect on these as on the rest of the letter rack holder as well. So it'll pull out the brown from underneath. So what I'm going to do is go over a few different bits, pull out some of the brown, give it a nice sort of antique-y, shabby chic kind of look. And then what we'll do is we'll seal it with some wax finish or varnish. Here we go. So it's all finished. I've gone over the top of it with this wax finish varnish. It's from Polyvine, and I'll put the link for this in the description in case you want to buy some. It's great stuff. It really is. And I'm really pleased with how it turned out. So I have kind of distressed it, but only in kind of certain areas. I haven't gone too mad. But the reason I painted the whole of it brown is I wanted the option to distress it anywhere, and then it would obviously show through. But I'm really pleased. As I say, it just came out just as I wanted. So I've just gone all the way round in certain areas and just rubbed it off. I think I used the wipe method more than the sandpaper. I find the wipe one, sort of the wet distress, easier to rub off. And that's it for me. So I hope I've inspired you to have a go, and you can buy the things like this really easily. I'm also in the middle of doing another project. It's another item from the works, so I'm halfway through filming that and doing it. So I'm kind of been doing it in between this project. So we'll got another one coming up soon. So that's it for me. I hope you've enjoyed watching this, and I hope you're all okay, and I'll see you again soon. You take care. Bye for now.